You ever get that feeling, that kind of quiet, creeping sense that the whole world is spinning in one direction, but your job is forcing you to march in a totally different one? It's this feeling that's so hard to put your finger on, but it turns out so many of us are feeling it. We're going to dive into a really raw and honest online conversation that just pulls back the curtain on how we're all actually doing with work, with purpose, and with, well, the future.
And it all kicked off with this one simple question. But let me tell you, this was not your typical, it's Monday kind of post. The person who wrote it asked, as we continue marching into the abyss, forced to play our role in the system, how are we all managing to show up for your jobs? Wow. And that question just unlocked this flood of responses that got right to the heart of this huge shared feeling.
And this really lays out the central conflict, doesn't it? It's the tension between the person you have to be at work, the one hitting deadlines and sitting in meetings, and the part of you that's just watching everything going on in the world and craving a life that feels, well, more real, more meaningful.
And that feeling, it turns out, has a name, at least according to the people in this conversation. They call it cosplaying normal. It's this idea that we're all kind of just pretending everything's fine when it feels like anything but. It's this collective mood of just going through the motion. For so many, the default emotion is just this mix of being completely burnt out and feeling totally trapped. A user named Ornery Sheepherder74 put it perfectly. It's not just about being tired, It's that deeper feeling that all this effort isn't actually leading anywhere, and it just leaves you wondering, why am I paying to live just so I can work?
And sometimes the feeling isn't some slow burn. It's a sharp, daily urge to just stop. This comment from Mr. Backrubber is super short, but man, is it powerful. It speaks right to that moment, and I think a lot of us have had it, where you're at your desk or on the job and you just want to turn around and walk right out the door for good. That phrase, cosplaying normal, it just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? It perfectly captures that feeling that we're all putting on a costume every day. We're playing the part of the happy, productive worker because the alternative, actually admitting how uneasy we feel, it just seems too disruptive, or maybe too scary, or honestly, just too exhausting to even think about.
But okay, what happens when that vague sense of dread becomes a very real, very personal loss? For some people in this conversation, the choice to leave their job wasn't a choice at all. Their careers and a huge part of who they are were just taken from them.
Just listen to this comment from a user named Terrierhead. They were a teacher who lost their job because of long COVID, and you can just feel the profound sense of loss. This isn't just about a paycheck. This was a career, doing important work. It was a passion, a purpose. The grief here is for a lost identity, a future that just vanished.
And almost right away, someone else chimes in with a story that's painfully similar. Another professor also forced out of their career by illness. It really shows you the power of finding people who get it. But it also points to this deep frustration. The part that's rage-inducing, as they put it, is when other people act like it was a choice. Why would anyone choose to throw away something they worked so hard for?
This quote that they shared, wow. It just gets right to the heart of this hidden struggle. For so many people dealing with chronic illness or other invisible challenges, the real work isn't just doing their job. It's performing wellness, pretending to be healthy every single day just to keep that job, right up until the moment their body just can't do it anymore.
So when you're faced with this kind of futility and this kind of loss, what do? Well, people aren't just taking it lying down. They're actively searching for an off-ramp, an escape from the main highway of modern work. They're finding all these different ways to cope, to react, and to try and reclaim their own lives.
And this is where it gets really complicated, right? You've got this huge internal tug-of-war. On one hand, there's this feeling like the whole system is broken, there's no way I can get ahead. But on the other hand, for a lot of people, their actual job feels more important than ever, even while they feel completely drained. It's a massive contradiction to live with every day.
So how are people actually navigating this? As you look through all the responses, they seem to fall into about 4 main strategies, 4 paths forward. These range from pretty small adjustments all the way to really radical life changes. So the first strategy is what you could call downshifting. It's a really conscious, strategic decision to just pull back.
People are talking about cutting their hours to the bare minimum they can afford, or lowering their cost of living to take the pressure off. They're making this powerful choice that says, hey, if this system isn't going to take care of me in the future, I'm going to claim my life in the present.
Then you have another approach. It's not about changing the job, but it's about finding little pockets of joy and life outside of it. One person, Brian T., talked about skateboarding, saying it's the only time that can really feel alive. And these aren't some huge, grand solutions, right? But they are absolutely vital moments of just being present when everything else feels like a grind.
And let's not forget this one, because it's so important. Sometimes the lifeline that makes a pointless job totally bearable isn't the work at all. It's the people you do it with. As Night Sister Sally points out, having that supportive work clique is crucial. It's a reminder that even inside a pretty flawed system, that human connection can bring you real, actual joy.
And for the last group, what gets them through is the escape plan. They're enduring their tough job now by actively creating a blueprint for a totally different life down the road, a life that's built around things like community and slowness and joy. That plan for the future, that dream, becomes the very thing that gives them the strength to keep fighting today.
So, when you pull back and look at all these stories, downshifting, finding joy, community, planning an escape, it all really boils down to the exact same thing. It's this constant, daily negotiation we're all making between the practical need to just survive and that deep, deep human desire to feel like we're truly living.
And that brings us to the last and maybe most haunting question that was posed in this whole conversation. I'm just going to leave you with this one because it kind of reframes everything. It cuts through all the noise about bills and promotions and asks something way more fundamental about what you really value. So, would you? Would you be doing anything different? It's a heavy question for sure, but it might be one we all need to start asking ourselves.